Alright, so I gotta know you battle. Don't hit the red X button yet, because it's actually a really good match. Sand versus Sand, which, never happens. Just kidding. But this guy's team is actually very, it's got some great defensive structure, I must say. It's got the Fortress, Heatran, Rotom, Genesect, and Landorus, and I know I just named more than half of his team there, but he's got great coverage with, he's got great defensive capabilities with Landorus, Genesect, and Rotom Wash, with all of them resisting each other's attacks that are super effective against the other, and they all have U-turn and Volt Switch, so that'll be kind of difficult to predict around. For sure. I feel like he's gonna end up KOing something because all of their sets can just be so unpredictable. Genesect could be Rock Polish, Landorus could be Rock Polish, Rotom could be Scarf, Specs, Extra Belt with Will-O-Wisp, bunch of crazy stuff. Rest of chest though, the usual. Heatran, I would assume, is especially defensive because Fortress, or it could be the more offensive set actually. Now that I think about it, because he does have the Tyranitar as a possible special wall for Fortress's coverage, the fire type attacks, electric type attacks, and I noticed that his team actually has a bit of a problem with water type attacks, except for Rotom, but I can tell that my key to victory is going to be having Terrakion come in and getting all sorts of damage with close combat and Stone Edge, which is really what this team is based around, just D-Knight and Magnezone sort of clearing the path for Terrakion and Scizor to be able to clear my opponent's side of the field. They're the two most prominent physical attackers in this generation. Well, two of the most prominent attackers. So I have a mixed D-Knight set, so Heatran and Fortress should not be too tough to deal with. Heatran, Fortress, Tyranitar, because I do have Superpower. I have Fire Blast for the Fortress. I have Superpower for the Heatran and Tyranitar, and I have Fire Blast for the Fortress. So if I can break Fortress sturdy, then Dragonite will be able to execute his set perfectly. The problem is I don't have Life Orb, so Superpower will probably not KO Heatran. I have lefties as opposed to that because I depend on my D-Knight to take advantage of his resistances for things like Breloom and stuff like that. Because you can see my team does have a bit of a problem with Breloom. Tentacruel is physically defensive, so I don't know about him taking Volt Switches from Rotom. But Landorus should, Landorus, he can take an Earthquake from Landorus. Genesect, if I want to bring him in on a U-turn, or predicted U-turn, that wouldn't be too bad. But then Rotom Wash could easily come in and Volt Switch, so that's going to be kind of tough to play around, like I said. So we're going to lead with my Magnezone. I predicted his Genesect to lead, so now he's forced to go for U-turn. And I actually just make the safe play here, as opposed to going for Substitute. I'd go for Hidden Power Fire because I expected him to, maybe he could possibly not have the Volt Beam coverage and choose to go for Flamethrower because, that'd just be a great move for Genesect. Magnezone sort of stops Genesect cold if it doesn't have U-turn or a fire type attack, but he's going to make the right play and go into his Heatran after U-turn. I'm going to go into my Tentacruel here, and only because I was predicting either he could Lava Plume, he could set up rocks, anything. Tentacruel's just a good switch in on Heatran, but as you can see, he goes behind the sub, so it makes me think it's either Tormentran from way back when, or he's going to have some sort of offensive momentum on his side. So as you can see, I'm thinking he's going to go for the Hidden Power Fire, or the Earth Power. I outsped him there, so that kind of got me thinking maybe it's not offensive, but clearly it is. That hit with Earth Power did a lot for it to not be stab or anything like that. Then again, I am physically defensive, so I'm actually going to go for the Scald here. The Rotom switching was obvious, but nothing on my team can really outspeed Rotom, as you saw in the beginning of the team preview with my team on the left. Nothing on my team outspeeds Rotom and can do like an important amount of damage to him, except Terrakion. But I'm not going to switch a Terrakion in a Rotom, especially since Sand's not up and he's not going to be able to take any of his attacks. That just really wouldn't be a good switch in. All of my other Pokemon I can easily switch in. So Dragonite is going to come in, take that Volt Switch, which does a lot. So it did 13% through multi-scale, so that kind of got me thinking maybe it's Specs. I don't know, or maybe it's just modest, So I am just going to make the obvious play, go into my Magnezone. I was fearing the Ice Beam. I would much rather have my Pokemon take little bits of damage from U-turn and Volt Switch over time than have an entire Pokemon KO'd right off the bat. So I'm going to make that obvious play, go from Dragonite to Magnezone, trap the Genesect, but it will easily U-turn out into his Landorus, of whom can easily Earthquake me, so I'm going to go into my Dragonite, but yeah, he's a smart guy. So Life Orb damage is what I see, and I'm going to go into my Terrakion and sort of bluff the Choice Band, which is completely believable on my team, because I could have Scarf Magnezone. Well, he saw that my Magnezone wasn't Scarf, but I could get away with not having a Scarf for my team from his eyes, because Dragonite could have Extreme Speed, Scizor could have, will have Bullet Punch, and I could just make up for not having a Scarf with priority moves. So that is why I went there, and I just really didn't want him to be able to Volt Turn anymore. Well, as well. So I'm just gonna go for the Stone Edge, and he's going to bring in his Fortress. I know it's going to get a good amount of damage on anything. I do get that crit, which ends up not really mattering because I do make a bad switch into the Scizor. I think I was, for some reason, I had the poor mindset that I could go into Scizor, set up some swords dances, and then I don't know why I did that. Maybe, yeah, that was really poor play. I think I was just going to expect him to maybe switch out into his either his Rotom, in case I want to Swords Dance, or go into his Genesect to resist U-turn because he doesn't see my item yet. But that was a horrible thought process, and now I'm going to pay for it because he will be able to get up a Gyro Ball, Volt Switch out, and have Switch Initiative. He's going to go into Heatran, which I should have predicted here, but I predicted him to expect me. Oh, I didn't predict that actually. I don't know why I said I did. But I'm going to go into my Tyranitar, easily take the Earth Power. Heatran's really not a threat at all to Tyranitar, especially since I have Earthquake, which he's going to actually scout for the Superpower here, which is actually a great move on Heatran because if I did have the superpower, I would keep lowering my attack and defense and eventually not be able to break his substitute based on or depending on his EVs. So as you can see, he's going to Earth Power me. I go for Crunch there, actually predicting him to go into either Landorus or Rotom Wash. But as you can see, he stays in and he goes for the Earth Power. Or he stays in and subs, so my Crunch doesn't break the substitute. Here I'm going to go for the Stealth Rock. Because I figured I could take any sort of hit from him, and Earth Power gets a crit, which ends up mattering a lot because now I can only take 2 more. He just Earth Powered me again, so now I can only take maybe 1 more depending on damage rolls. So this is huge because now I can only get 1 Earthquake off. And as you can see, it's a special defense drop. So that means that I'm forced to switch out because I do want to keep my Tyranitar alive. Tyranitar would be useful for KOing Fortress. Tyranitar would be useful as Death Fodder in the beginning. And if I have so many good switches for this Heatran, there's no point in foddering off Tyranitar. I want Terrakion to come in to be able to get a good chunk of damage off on anything on his team. And I know he's not going to go for Lava Plume because that'd be completely stupid. He wouldn't be able to KO me, and he's already seen that I have Earthquake. So I'm going to go on my Terrakion, of whom resists it. And I know I'm going to get a huge amount of damage on whatever wants to come in. It doesn't even matter. I'm going to go for the Close Combat on Landorus. It's okay. I did want to go for the Stone Edge, but had he stayed in and Lava Plume, got the burn, or Earth Power, and I would have been trapped in the Stone Edge, I didn't want that to happen. So I'm just going to make the smart play, go for over my Close Combat because I saw the Life Orb earlier. He can only really get 1 attack off, and I can go into Scizor, hit him with Bullet Punch, and then end up killing himself off with Life Orb. So that was a huge threat, nicely taken out. Unfortunately, I had to risk my Scizor for it, but like I said earlier, Scizor will not really be able to sweep much because of Heatran, Genesect, and Fortress being on his team. So we're going to go into Magnezone. I'm going to go for the substitute. Yes, that was risky because he rapid spawned, and now my Stealth Rocks are gone, and Rotom Wash is going to be tougher to handle. But I figured that I have another opportunity to get them up should he go into his Heatran. He's going to go into his Heatran now, and he's going to go for the substitute, which I didn't agree with that play because Thunderbolt is obviously going to break your sub. Maybe expected me to have the Charge Beam, which wouldn't break his sub unless I got a couple special attack raises, so that wasn't that bad of a play, but I don't know. I think he should have made a better play than that. I'm going to go for Close Combat, hit the Heatran. Anything that wants to come in would take a huge amount of damage, so he knows he has to sack it. Now he's going to go into his Rotom Wash, and I know for a fact that he's going to take a hit without a problem. So I'm going to go into my Tyranitar, predicting either the Hydro Pump or the Volt Switch. Tyranitar was basically fodder at that point, really. And I do want to kind of keep my Tyranitar. I know he's going to either go for the Bug Buzz or the U-turn. So I go into my Tentacruel, of whom can take that without any problems. Yes, he can go into Rotom Wash, but as we saw earlier, he has the leftovers. So I think we saw that he had leftovers. Yes, I believe we did. Either way, I know that Volt Switch cannot KO Tentacruel from this range. Tentacruel does have some nice special defense, and Rotom Wash is maybe defensive. And yes, as you can see, he has leftovers right there. And he can easily go for the Thunderbolt right here, or he can go for the Hydro Pump if he wants to predict me. But he goes for the Will-O-Wisp, knowing, I guess that makes me think that he knows Thunderbolt won't kill. So maybe his EVs are spread around a little differently. So I'm thinking that he's more physically defensive than anything, and maybe it's, speed investment to outspeed certain things. So I'm going to go for the Thunderbolt here on his Rotom Wash. Like I said, just trying to get some damage on so Terrakion can eventually come in and KO it, because that's what I'm really banking on right now, is the fact that Terrakion outspeeds his entire team. Now, here I'm going to make a great switch into my Tentacruel, of whom will have no problems with this Tyranitar. I'm going to go for the Scald, hoping for the burn so I can live another hit and go for some more Scalds. But as you can see, he's going to hit the Stone Edge, not get the burn, and KO my Tentacruel. So now I'm forced to bring in my Terrakion. Could go into Magnezone, but that would not be a good play because then he could easily go into his Genesect. outspeed and get that special attack. No, actually, I have special defense EVs, so he would get a physical attack raise. But Genesect could have that flamethrower or something, which he probably would have gone for in the first turn, but I don't think it would have KO'd. So that's probably why I wouldn't go for it. But he could have gone for it now, so that's why I go into my Terrakion as opposed to Tyranitar, as opposed to Magnezone, because Flash Cannon could also just have a possibility of not killing. So he's going to go into well, it won't kill because I'm timid, and it's probably especially defensive Tyranitar. But I'm going to go into my Terrakion, go for the close combat. I know I have to switch out. This Genesect will KO me with anything, but he goes for the U-turn, which would have actually KO'd my Terrakion had I stayed in. So Magnezone will go for the Thunderbolt, which is great. I'm trying to get some damage on this Rotom Wash, and right now it's looking like the game is in my hands. I can outspeed Rotom Wash, KO it, 2-hit KO that Genesect, of whom, as long as it does not have the, you know, something like Bug Buzz, or, not Bug Buzz, as long as it does not have, you know, Techno Blast like I have, but I only use it on a Rain Team, you know, Water, the Douse Disc, so, really there's nothing Genesect can do to me. Everything he does will 2-hit KO me, and I can 1-hit KO with Stone Edge, but as you can see, Genesect does not give a fuck. It's going to miss. And I'm going to lose because I will not be able to 1-hit KO with Stone Edge, and Ice Beam will KO me. So that's the end of the match. I guess thanks for watching. If you want to check out my channel, you can. Bye.